My name's Eric. I'm a solution engineer here at Inigo. Thank you for joining today or this evening. It's going to be worth your while. So I'm going to talk specifically about the Inigo platform and why it's a great alternative for Apollo GraphOS. So for the agenda for today's webinar, I'm going to talk quickly about who we are, the Inigo GraphQL platform, to spend a few minutes on that. And then I'll get into why Inigo can be a great alternative to GraphOS. And then I have an extensive demo where I'm going to talk about Apollo Federation, show how we can integrate with the Apollo router, and also how we can help manage your GraphQL schema, including breaking changes and linting. So who is Inigo? So we are a GraphQL technology company based in Palo Alto. We were founded in 2021. We have the mission to enable GraphQL adoption in the enterprise, and we have a growing presence in the GraphQL space. We help empower enterprises with GraphQL by filling in the gaps with traditional API management for GraphQL. We help you control and streamline your GraphQL APIs by bolstering observability and security of those APIs. Additionally, we offer full lifecycle management for your GraphQL APIs, including comprehensive API management tools, and we help you ensure compliance for your APIs without impacting your development teams. Inigo has broad applicability across your enterprise. We benefit developers, platform teams, business intelligence, and security. And we have an agnostic platform, so we support many different types of GraphQL servers and gateways. So let me talk about the Inigo platform quickly. So there's 4 core competencies of the platform. So the first one is monitoring. So we offer deep observability, errors and alerting capabilities for your GraphQL APIs. We offer comprehensive schema management capabilities such as checks, registry, composition, and linting. And you'll see those in the demo today. Also, we offer comprehensive security features for GraphQL, including rate limiting, query protection, role-based access control, JOT token authentication, and other features. And also you'll see today our GraphQL Explorer, which is an integrated query builder and IDE. And I want to reiterate that the Inigo platform is compatible with any GraphQL server or gateway. Today's focus is on the Apollo router, but we go way beyond that with our support. So first up, I want to talk a little bit more about monitoring. So out of the box, you get some dashboards and insights into your GraphQL API. So you can understand, what are the most common errors that are occurring in your API? Where are some of the performance bottlenecks with your GraphQL API? And you can understand, what users and what clients are impacted by some of these issues that may be hidden with your GraphQL API performance. Additionally, we offer the deep observability features. And by deep, I mean field level observability into your API. We capture 100% of the queries that are running through your GraphQL server. And this gives you very valuable business intelligence. It helps you understand, hey, how is my GraphQL API actually being used by clients? Additionally, we offer different ways to slice and dice data for your GraphQL API with advanced group by and filtering capabilities. So you can narrow down per query and even per field where the errors or performance issues are coming from. Additionally, we offer subgraph tracing if you're using Federation. That will also allow you to narrow down to which subgraph performance issues may be arising. Additionally, we offer schema coverage capabilities. So that allows you to see what parts of your schema are actually being utilized by your GraphQL clients or potentially underutilized. And this can help you with your forward-looking, your schema planning, understanding how to evolve your schema in the future based on actual usage of your API. Additionally, we offer advanced alerting capabilities. We have an integration with Slack This allows you to take a proactive approach to your API management and quickly resolve errors. And additionally, we have a new feature where you can actually prioritize the different types of errors and alerts that are coming through the Inigo system. This allows you to jump on the business critical errors and quickly resolve them. Also, we offer advanced rate limiting capabilities to the field level or cost-based rate limiting. So this gives you protection against data scraping or potentially data leakage out of your API by limiting the amount of data that can be queried. Additionally, we have an integrated operation registry. So this helps enhance security by permitting only pre-approved queries. Additionally, this helps boost performance. Also, we have declarative RBAC. So this gives you role-based access control for your API. It gives you control also over introspection of your API. So basically, if you have a particular client, they are only able to see parts of the schema that they actually have permissions to. And also, this helps remove code from your resolvers that may be written for role-based access control. You can simply export that complexity to Inigo. Additionally, we offer query protection. So this allows you to protect your API against attackers. So for example, you can limit heights and depths of the queries, and you can enforce that queries have an operation name, for example. And this also helps prevent against denial of service attacks. Also, we can help prevent against injection attacks. So we help validate and sanitize any user-supplied input into your GraphQL API. Also, we offer schema management. So we offer a schema navigator, so you can go through the entire schema that you have and also do diffs against different versions of your schema. And also, we automatically version your schema as it changes over time. Additionally, we have a schema registry with schema composition for Apollo Federation version 1 and version 2. So this helps streamline your schema management. Additionally, we offer a registry that you can run within your own infrastructure if you choose to. Also, we offer schema checking capabilities to check your schema changes against live production data for your GraphQL clients. And this seamlessly integrates into your development lifecycle. You're actually going to see this in the demo today. Additionally, you can track all activities related to your schema as we have a detailed activity log. So you can see a history of all the validation checks that are occurring and publishing of your schema. Also, we offer schema linking capabilities to help enforce coding standards. You're going to see that in the demo today as well. Also, with our Inigo CLI, you can actually integrate Inigo into your CI/CD pipeline. So as you deploy changes for your applications, you'll be able to detect things like breaking changes up front before a deployment actually occurs. Also, you'll see in the demo today our integrated GraphQL Explorer that has an integrated schema browser. You can build queries with a point and click. We have the schema editor with validation capabilities. We also offer query history. So we actually maintain a full history of the queries that you're running, including the responses, and we store that securely in your local browser. That data is not sent out to Inigo. Additionally, we support pre-flight scripts. So if you have to authenticate against your GraphQL API, you can write the JavaScript code to retrieve the token that you need to execute against your GraphQL endpoint. Additionally, you have the ability to save queries for development or testing purposes in a query collection and save those queries out to other members of your team. So next, let's talk about Inigo and why it's a great alternative to GraphOS. So both Apollo, GraphOS, and Inigo are enterprise GraphQL SaaS platforms, but Inigo can match or even surpass GraphOS in areas such as analytics and security, federation, and developer productivity features. And Inigo plugs into your existing Apollo router or Apollo gateway deployments, and you maintain control over how and where you deploy your Apollo router or gateway. That means you can run it in your own infrastructure. You don't have to depend on your router being deployed out in the cloud somewhere else. So to give you a full breakdown of the features and how they compare, Inigo versus GraphOS, so we both support things like schema searching. We have the integrated GraphQL IDE, the ability to, save your queries in the user interface, user group management, enterprise single sign-on. So Inigo supports Okta. And then for the server and gateway support, we go beyond just the Apollo stack for GraphQL. We support a wide variety of GraphQL servers and gateways. And also we have a sidecar deployment. So you can really support any GraphQL server. Additionally, if you want to look at GraphQL analytics, Inigo goes way beyond GraphOS. So we support operation metrics and signatures and search filters, alerting, group by, operation drill down, counting of objects that are returned by your queries, field usage and insights, subgraph tracing, operation replay, and schema coverage and heat map. And as you can see here, GraphOS offers limited analytics capabilities. And there's quite a few gaps here with important features such as the schema coverage, heat map capabilities, which are important for understanding how your schema is actually being used. And also, Inigo captures 100% of your query data, where GraphOS will do a sampling of your data and only give you a small percentage. Additionally, on the security front, Inigo offers many capabilities that are not offered by GraphOS. So we support advanced operation limits, out of the box, advanced rate limiting. We support separation of your schema using role-based access control, which is different and superior to GraphOS contracts. We support role-based access control out of the box and JWT authentication. Additionally, on the developer tooling front, we also support alerting, Slack integration. We have a CLI that you can plug into your CI/CD. But one big difference with Inigo is we support configuration as code. So for Inigo, if you want to configure your GraphQL services and all the capabilities with Inigo, you can define that with YAML files as policies and check those into your Git repo. And that's very important because you can easily utilize those YAML configurations in your CI/CD pipeline, or even configure a GitOps workflow to automatically deploy those configuration changes as they change over time. So that's a big difference with GraphOS, and it's a much superior approach. So now I want to get into the demo, and specifically, we're going to look at Apollo Router and how we integrate our Inigo plugin. And you can see from this little architecture diagram, I'm going to use the Inigo Explorer here at the top. I'm going to run some queries against a local host running instance of Apollo Router. This is running in a Docker container that we distribute here at Inigo. And then these are federated queries. So the queries are run against 4 different subgraphs, which are accounts, inventory, products, and reviews. Additionally, in the demo, you're going to see a little bit of our Inigo CLI, and the CLI will read in some Inigo configs. It will read in your subgraph schemas, and it will send those out to our Inigo cloud. And so in the Inigo cloud, that's where we do things like schema composition, the schema versioning, and we have a pipeline that is run for schema checking. And you'll see that in detail later. Additionally, the Inigo cloud will push down the Inigo configurations and policies. It'll push down the federated schema down to the Inigo plugin, and it will dynamically apply that federated schema to the Apollo router. Additionally, the GraphQL query data will be retrieved via the Inigo plugin from the Apollo router and sent back to the Inigo cloud. And that's how it can retrieve the data for the analytics. And you'll see that in the demo today. So just a quick run through of the focus areas. We have the Apollo router, we have the Inigo Explorer. You're going to see the observability features with the subgraph tracing, schema composition and versioning, the CLI, and the schema checks. All right, so let's jump into it. So in the demo today, I'm going to use Visual Studio Code, and I have just a sample project that I'm going to run here. And so the first thing I'm going to do here for the demo is simply start up my subgraphs. And so I have a little npm command, going to run that here. And you can see that I have these 4 subgraph services running. So these are simply Apollo server, but these could be literally any GraphQL server that you want to run. And so next I'm actually going to get my Apollo router up and running. And so we have some detailed instructions in our documentation for how this works. And I've already set up the appropriate Inigo service for this Apollo router. And one thing that you need to know is that you have to have a Inigo service token. And so this Inigo service token is used for authenticating your Apollo router instance to the Inigo cloud and making that connection. And so we have a container that we distribute for Apollo router, as you can see here. And so you can simply do a Docker run command, and you can run the Inigo Apollo server latest image. And so what this is the open source Apollo router code that is compiled with the Inigo plugin. And then we distribute that through a Docker container. And just real quickly, we have a router configuration here for Apollo router. And I have some basic configurations here where I set up the ports that Apollo router is listening to. I disable some of the features like the sandbox, and I enable header propagation and some of the basic features of Apollo router. Additionally, I enable the Inigo middleware plugin. So I'm going to get this guy up and running. And you can see he's running, and you'll see some info level logs that are coming out from Inigo. And you can see that some configurations are retrieved and everything looks A-OK. So now I want to go over to the actual user interface for Inigo and show you a little bit more about what's actually configured. So here's the main page for Inigo. If you come into app.inigo.io and log in, you're going to be taken to this page. And on this page, you're going to see all this different services that you have configured for Inigo. And so in this case, I only have one service configured. This is the Apollo router fed to demo because I'm using Apollo Federation version 2. And underneath, you can see here that I have 4 subgraphs deployed. And so if I click here, you can see that we have the top level. This is the supergraph service, and these are the underlying subgraphs. So that is how that works. And then also I can simply click here and I can go to the Explorer on the menu, and you can see that we have this integrated GraphQL IDE. And if I click here, I can see in the schema the different queries that I can run, all the different fields that I can add. So if I click that, click the name field there, you can see that I'm going to run the me query with the name. Run that guy there. You can see that my name's Ada Lovelace. She was the first ever computer programmer, but that's my name here in this query. So I'm going to run this guy a couple more times. So that is just a basic query that you can run. But I want to run a more extensive query. And so I'm going to paste in a different query. So this query that I want to run, it's called my reviewed products to buy again. And so this query is special because it'll exercise all 4 subgraphs that I have running. And essentially this query will return my name, all the associated product reviews that I've made in the past, and then some product information, including the product name, price, shipping estimate, and whether that product's in stock. So once again, this will exercise, all 4 of those subgraphs. So I'm just going to run this guy a few times. Oh, you can see that there was a delay there that happened. Run it again. You can see that an error occurred. So what I do here with the subgraph is I randomly introduce some errors and delays. And so that's why you see some of these errors popping up. Additionally, we have a little menu here where you can just simply run a query 10 times in a row. It does that automatically for you. So that's pretty cool. Also, I want to show just very quickly a few features of the Explorer. And by the way, we ran a webinar on Explorer a couple of weeks ago, so you can check our YouTube, and we have a full overview of the Explorer. So one thing I want to show is that we offer the collections. So you can create a query collection, and you can save specific queries underneath those collections. We also offer query history, so you get a full view of the history of all the queries that you ran. And so, for example, down here, you can see that me query that I ran earlier. You can see the response data. This is all stored locally in your browser in a secure way. It's not sent out to the Inigo cloud, which is kind of cool. And so this, gives you advanced capabilities to run any query right in the browser. Additionally, we have capabilities to share queries out as well. So if you hit this share button, it'll give you a URL, and you can give it to somebody else on your team, and they'll be taken to the exact query and setup that you were running on your own instance of Explorer. Additionally, you can set header values, you can create a pre-flight scripts, set environment variables. Once again, you can check out our other webinar for more details on this. Okay, so next I'm actually going to jump over and take a look at the observe here at the top. And you go in here and you can start to see all the associated queries that I was running just a few minutes ago. And you can see my review products to buy again. You can see some of these have errors, and I'm going to show you how you can kind of filter down some of this data. And so if you go here at the top, you can set specific timelines for the queries that were run. So maybe I can change this to the past 1 hour. Additionally, you can also add specific filters. And so we support like client, error message, error type, field path, IP address, latency, the actual operation name or a prefix for the query. And so, for example, if you go to like error type, you can just do like has errors, right? And here you can see all the queries that were run that actually have errors. Additionally, we have group by capabilities. So you can do like group by operation, user, client, so if I do group by operation, I can see all the specific queries that I've been running. I can see an aggregate of the P95 latency, for example, how many queries actually had errors. In this case, there was 2 queries that had errors in the last half hour, or in the last 1 hour rather. Additionally, we have a timeline up here. And so this will show you over, blocks of time, what happened, so for this time period here, over the last 2 minutes, I had 2 different errors. And additionally, we have different views on this. So there's like a latency view, for example. So you can see here on the left, this is the range of time in milliseconds that the queries were running, right? So you can see if there's a degradation in performance. So that gives you, like I said, a really good way to, just kind of slice and dice the data. Additionally, you can also filter down, once again, by different clients and understand, hey, if I'm having errors with my GraphQL API, what particular clients are actually impacted by those errors? And that's very valuable data to have. Additionally, we offer different views here in Observe. So we have a tree view. So this gives you an idea of the actual structure of the queries and the amount of objects that are retrieved out of those queries. And you can kind of set different levels on that view. Additionally, we have a heat map so you can see, hey, what fields are most commonly used for these queries, right? And then once again, this is over a timeline over the past 1 hour. You can change this over the past month. So that might give you a little bit different perspective on, hey, how are my clients actually using my schema? Additionally, we offer the coverage as well. So you can actually see a percentage based on type of the fields that are actually being used, right? So you can see, hey, which types are actually being utilized. So that's really cool. Additionally, I wanted to show that you can actually drill down and understand, on a per query basis, what is actually happening here. So if you click here, you can actually see the actual parsed query that was coming in, right? You can see any associated errors. So you can see, darn, something went wrong, right? You can see specific information about the client that was running the query. Additionally, you can also see tracing information here. So you can see in this case, there was the error, and the actual error originated from the product subgraph. And if I hover over that, you can see that, there is the specific server error, right? And you can see that there is also a high amount of latency here, basically a 1 second amount of latency, whereas the other subgraphs were only executing in a few milliseconds. So that shows you some of the capabilities for, drilling down even to the subgraph level on, how all that works. So next, I want to show you a little bit of our schema view, because this is important for understanding later on some of the capabilities around federation. And so if you look here in the schema view here at the top, you can see all the types, right? And so right now I'm at the super graph level. And so if I click here into product, here you can see all the fields associated with product, right? And you can see as well that there's specific subgraphs that are associated with the type and even the specific fields, right? So if I click this guy here, right, you can see I can see all the specific subgraphs that actually have the product type associated with it. So if I click reviews here, this goes one level deeper, and I can see the type product with the reviews and the UPC field that are defined for that specific subgraph. And once again, this is all specific to Apollo Federation version 2. So that gives you some great capabilities there. Additionally, when you're in the schema view, you actually can click here and then you can look at, hey, what are the specific queries that actually are using that field, right? And so that automatically applied this filter here at the top. Here you can see there's a filter for the product.name field. So that gives you a shortcut for understanding, once again, what queries are actually using a field in my schema. So that's really cool. Additionally, there is the ability to do diffs on your schema. I'm going to come back to that in a few minutes, and then we'll find out a little bit more about that. Okay, so now I want to move into something else. I want to move into how you can actually run schema checks against your, live traffic for your GraphQL services. And so for that, I'm actually going to come in here and I'm going to open up one of my subgraph schemas. And so I'm going to come in here, I'm going to go under services, going to go under inventory, and I'm going to open up the schema.graphql. And here you can see that I have this in stock field. And so maybe for some reason I'm looking to remove this field from my schema. Maybe I want to rename it or move it somewhere else, right? Maybe it's not needed anymore, just for the purposes of this demo, right? And so rather than blindly remove this field, I should check to see, hey, have I had any clients recently using this field? Let's say over the last 30 days. And so Inigo actually allows you to do that. And I'm going to run a specific command here, paste that in. And so with the Inigo CLI, we have something called check. And so that will allow you to check your subgraph schema against that live traffic, as I mentioned. I need to actually remove the in stock, save, and then I'll run that command. And here you can see in the log output that I detected one breaking change, right? And down here, you get very specific information about the in-stock field that was removed. And you can even see the specific query and the last time that was called, right, that instigated this breaking change. So this gives you a very upfront way to understand, hey, am I introducing a breaking change into the schema? Additionally, we have the view in the actual Inigo cloud under activity. So this gives you a full history of all the apply or check commands that were run. And if you click on check here, you can see, hey, there was a failed operation check and the in stock field was attempted to be removed. And once again, you can see the specific operation that was run and how many calls were made. And you can click on this link here and you can see in our analytics, what was actually run, right? So that's a really, cool capability. Also, I want to talk, just very briefly about, what are these schema checks more specifically? And so in the Inigo cloud, we actually have essentially a pipeline that is run anytime you run like the Inigo check or Inigo apply. And so the first check that we run is essentially a validation check. And this is where we make sure that the subgraph schemas are parsed, they're valid, they're conformant, for example, for Apollo Federation. Additionally, we have the composition check. And so this allows you to check to make sure, hey, can all these subgraph schemas be composed into a valid supergraph schema, right? And so there is the ability to essentially bypass this composition check if necessary, if you know that, this is, you're doing this on purpose. Additionally, we have the operation checks. And so this is kind of what we just seen, right? Where we check against that GraphQL client, history, the history of those queries. The default amount of time is over the last 30 days. And you can check against your schema changes against that traffic. And once again, you have the ability to do a bypass. So if for some reason, that you absolutely want to remove a field, and that a client is actually making some upgrades to their queries, you can run that bypass command or simply use the UI. And finally, we do an evaluation check. And so that's where we check against some Inigo specific directives that maybe you can use for access control or rate limiting purposes. So as you can see, this is very useful for, helping you manage your API, lifecycle, making sure that you're not breaking your client's queries and, maintaining the reliability of your GraphQL services or, your super graph. So next, I'm actually going to go back here to this check. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just actually going to run this bypass, right? And so I'm actually going to, enforce that I actually want to remove this in stock right here, right? So I'm going to just do bypassed next run. Okay, and it says failed steps will be bypassed on the next run. And so I'm going to go back here to Visual Studio Code. I'm going to run another command. And this command is going to be Inigo apply. And so what this is actually going to do is it's going to go through the schema checks again, and then it's actually going to do the schema composition, and it's going to automatically publish a new version of your supergraph schema. So I'm just going to do the Inigo apply here. And you can see here that a new schema is published and it bypassed, the breaking change and actually removed the field. So if I go back here to the Inigo cloud again, and I'm just going to do a refresh here, you can see that this apply was run. You can see a label here that it was actually bypassed. And you can see that in stock was removed. So that's really cool. And then here you can see this open in schema diff. So I'm going to click that guy. And here this will actually show you from version 4 to version 5, the fact that this in stock field was removed. And so this gives you a full history of your schema. You can click, the different versions here, even back to version 1. And so this gives you essentially a real-time view on the current state of your schema. And I want to make the point too is if you're not using Federation, if you just have a plain old GraphQL service that you're running, We just do automatic schema versioning for you. And so that still gives you a full history of your schema, even if you're not using Federation. So it works either way. So that is a really handy feature that we have built into Inigo. Okay, so now I actually want to move on here to the linting, and I'm running a little bit short on time, so I'm just going to go through this here really quickly. And so I'm going to actually go in here into a different subgraph, and I'm going to click on the schema GraphQL here. And so for the linting, what I want to do here is actually introduce a new field, and I'm going to just set like a nickname field, okay? And so as you can see here, this nickname is in all caps. Well, what if I'm in a situation where I want to enforce that all the field names in your schema are using camel case? Well, with Inigo, you actually can do that. We have a configuration for that. It's called the checks configuration. And we have the schema linting rules. So here you can see like field names camel case. And we're applying these linting rules. And if the fields are not camel case, we're going to actually raise an error when we're going through these checks. So this is a really valuable feature, and I want to show you the documentation really quick on this. And here you can see that we support a wide variety of linter rules. For example, the field names camel case I just mentioned. So this gives you a high level control over the actual formatting of your schema, right? So if I go back here to the Visual Studio Code and go here and click Save on that schema. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to just run the Inigo check command again against the account subgraph. All right. So here you can actually see that we have the field name should only be camel case. And you can see that there's an attribute user.nickname here. So you can see we're enforcing that linting rule. Well, what if we actually want to just kind of override that, right? So here what you can do is you actually can apply a specific directive to your schema. And so here you can see that we're adding this lint ignore here for the field names camel case to the nickname. And you can see here that I've already just predefined the actual directive specification here at the top of the subgraph. So now I'm actually going to run Inigo apply against that actual subgraph. And you can see here that the actual field was applied and a new schema was published. And so once again, if I go out here to Inigo in the cloud, and I can see that, I ran, I had to check that failed for the linting, right? So I had that failure. And then I did the apply, the linting passed, the field nickname was added. If I open up the schema diff, I can see that the nickname attribute was actually, or field was actually added there to the user type. So as you can see, this helps you enforce the linting rules and make sure that, all your, GraphQL development teams are, following the same standards and naming standards, for example, for your GraphQL schema. So this actually concludes the demo. I'm going to jump back to the slides. I just want to talk real quickly about the pricing. And so a lot of the capabilities that I demoed today, so for example, the schema checking, all the GraphQL monitoring capabilities, the ability to run Inigo with any, GraphQL server or gateway, getting up to 5 million GraphQL requests per month supported. All this is for free, no credit card required. You can easily, go to our website and sign up for a free Inigo account and start using Inigo with your existing, GraphQL server or gateway. And this can give you a taste of, the power that Inigo brings, to your GraphQL API and the ability to help manage your schema and manage the performance and understand where the errors are coming from, what clients are actually impacted. And then if you want to, go beyond the free version, if you want to get more into the composition, rate limiting, some of those advanced features that we offer, we offer a very scalable pricing model for our enterprise version. And so if you're looking to, make the next steps, we'd love to talk to you. You can reach out to sales@inigo.io. You can create the account at app.inigo.io. We have comprehensive documentation, a getting started guide. We have a Slack. We would love to chat with you there, and you can easily get up and running with Inigo. So that's
Perfect,
it.
Eric.
Shahar, do we
Two
have any
questions.
questions?
Two questions. One, there was one question if the observability will also work with the GraphQL server. For those who
Yes.
use.
Yeah, so let's say, for example, you're using Apollo server or you're using Hasura. So we have a middleware that you can install and run directly in the server, and that will provide all the capabilities out of the box to, get the analytics up and running.
Perfect. One more question, last question. If they don't want to use the Inigo Docker, how does the middleware integration looks like, or the plugin integration looks like for the router?
Yeah, so we offer the code open source and instructions on how to compile your own binary for the Apollo router if you choose to do that. If you want to get more specific on how you can customize and compile the router, please reach out to us on Slack and we can give you a helping hand in how to do that. I know that sometimes people build their own custom plugins for router using Rust. And so we can work with you on that.
Perfect. Thank you, Eric. Very informative. And thank you everyone who joined us today. We'll make this video available on YouTube, and always feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you for joining. Bye.